Hey y'all, so I thought I would try teaching you this way at home for this little unit on third declension irregular I stems. So here we go. Okay, so you know third declension nouns. That is the blank is-e-m-a, ace ibus, ace ibus, and blank is-e blank a, ibus, a ibus for neuter. So today we're going to learn about third declension nouns that are irregular. They're called irregular I stems, which you can see right there. And this is just a weird screen to really cement what an I stem could be if you use your imagination. Here's a stem and an I. There you go. Keep that in your mind, no matter how creepy. Okay, some third declension nouns are called I stems because they have an I added into their forms. So there will be certain types of nouns that are going to have I's in the blank is-e-m-a, ace ibis, ace ibis endings. Okay, so right now if I were you, I would take a moment and write down the regular endings, which are right here. For masculine and feminine, it's blank is-e-m-a, ace ibis, ace ibus. And for neuter, it's blank is-e blank a, ibis, a ibis. Remember that the nominative and accusative neuter forms are always the same. Now, for the special I stem endings, we're going to add a few I's in weird places. There they are. So if a third declension noun is irregular and it's masculine and feminine, all you'll do is add one I in the genitive plural. If your third declension noun is neuter and irregular, you will replace this E at the bottom, this ablative singular, with an I. Then you will add an I before the endings of the nominative plural, genitive plural, and accusative plural endings. So take a moment and copy down these irregular endings. All right, now the next question should be, how do I know which nouns are irregular? How do I know which third declension nouns get these I's? Well, I'm going to teach you 3 rules that will clarify which nouns are I stems. So if a noun passes these 3 tests, these 3 rules, then it gets to be an I stem. And these 3 creepy pictures represent the 3 rules. Rule number 1. Rule number 1 says, parasyllabic nouns that have is or es in the nominative singular are irregular. Parasyllabic nouns that have is or es in the nominative singular are irregular. And the word parasyllabic means that the noun has the same number of syllables in the nominative form and the genitive form. For example, take the noun panis, masculine, which means bread. Panis has 2 syllables, pa and nis. The genitive form panis also has 2 syllables, pa and nis. Because they both have 2 syllables, they're parasyllabic. So, panis and panis are parasyllabic, and now we have to see if the nominative singular, which is this first panis, ends in an is or an es. Panis ends in an is, so it's parasyllabic and has a nominative that ends in an is. Thus, we'll put this in the irregular masculine and feminine chart. Ois and ois. Ois has 2 syllables. This genitive ois has 2 syllables. They're parasyllabic. Now we check to see if the nominative singular ends in an is, and it does. So this will be irregular. Callus. Callus has 2 syllables. The genitive form callus has 2 syllables. The nominative and the genitive are parasyllabic. The nominative ends in an is, so check. This will be irregular. Same thing here with Wallace, which means valley. And same thing here. Notice that new base is different from all of these words because new base, the nominative, is different from nubis, the genitive. This has an E, the nominative does, and genitive has an I. However, they're both parasyllabic. They both have two syllables. And this ES right here follows the rule. The nominative ends in ES or IS, so this will still be irregular. And this is just something you have to memorize. Canis canis is parasyllabic and the nominative ends in IS, so it should be irregular, but it's not. You just decline this like normal. Rule number 2 is that monosyllabic nouns with a stem that ends in a double consonant are irregular. So monosyllabic, this word means it has one syllable. So we're going to be looking for a nominative with one syllable, and then we're going to be looking for a noun stem that ends in a double consonant. For example, mons, montis. The nominative is one syllable, so it's monosyllabic, check. Now we need to see if the stem ends in a double consonant. To find the stem, you go to your genitive and take off the IS. So all that's left is mont. N and T are both consonants because they're not vowels. So it does end in a double consonant, and it will be irregular. Dens and dentis. Dens is monosyllabic, meaning it has one syllable. And dentis, if we find the stem, we take off the IS, and notice that the stem ends in NT, which is a double consonant. So it's monosyllabic, stem ends in a double consonant, it's irregular. Nox, noctis. Nox is monosyllabic. CT is the end of the stem once we take off the IS, and those are both consonants, so it is irregular. The last rule is this. This last rule only applies to neuter nouns, not masculine and feminine, only neuter nouns. If a neuter third declension noun ends in AL, AR, or E, it's irregular. For example, animal, animalis neuter. The nominative ends in AL. It ends in an AL, an R, or an A. So, it's irregular. Exemplar, exemplaris, neuter. Exemplar ends in AR and it's neuter. Third declension, so it's irregular. Mare, maris, neuter. Mare is neuter. It ends in an E. So it's irregular. Now, take the moment and let's actually decline these irregular nouns together. So panis, panis is irregular. If we were to decline it normally, we'd do panis, panis, pani, panem, pane, panes, panum, panibus, panes, panibus. But we know our rule number 1, the nominative and genitive are parasyllabic, and the nominative ends in an IS. So this is irregular, and we have to add an I in the genitive plural. Rule number 2, mons, montis, masculine. If we were to do it normally, we would do mons, montis, monti, montem, monte, montes, montum, montibus, montes, montibus. But we know our rule number 2. We've got a monosyllabic nominative, and we have a stem that ends in a double consonant once we take off our IS. So it is irregular. So we need to add our I in the genitive plural. And then number 3, this is for neuters only. We have mare, maris, and if we were to decline it normally, we'd do mare, maris, mari, mare, because nominative and accusative neuters are always the same. Mare, mara, marum, maribus, mara, maribus. However, we know our rules, and it's a neuter that ends in AL, AR, or E. It ends in an E, so it's irregular. So we have to add our I's. We take out this E and put an I. We add an I here for Maria. So Maria literally means the seas. Marium, of the seas, and Maria. And that is it. And as a quick review, neuter third declension nouns add 4 I's to the endings. Masculine and feminine third declension nouns only add 1 I to the endings. And here are the rules, again, for you to look at. So thanks for listening. Here was the lesson. I hope you followed along. All right, see y'all in class. Bye.